Welcome back, everybody. This is Nightflight. I'm Judith Kwober, and today we are talking to Natalie Donna. She has a wonderful YouTube channel. It's called Dystopian Deep Dives. The website has the same name, dystopiandeepdives.com. Everything will be linked below, of course. Very happy to have her here. She is also a podcaster. So Natalie, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I've been watching your channel. I'm a relative newcomer to your channel, but it's a fantastic channel because you have, I think, a pretty balanced perspective on a lot of topics. And we're seeing a lot of sort of insanity going on, and I find your voice to be one of a bit more sanity. And I was watching your video about the age of Aquarius, and we're talking about sort of this shift from Pisces to Aquarius. I'm also not an expert in astrology. This is more of my friends love this. But I think it is very interesting because a friend did tell me that this would be more about sort of technocrats and science and things like this. Instead of priests. Would you agree with that?
It certainly looks like that right now, because the technocrats are, in the process of taking over. And they would love to see that we just, roll over and be quiet. And go along with it. But at the same time, Aquarius also opens up the possibility to do what we want to do and to establish what we want to establish. The question is, do we have the guts to do that? And by that, I mean, one big step is not buying into the fear porn, that the boogeyman is out there and the coronavirus is coming to get you, and because everything hinges on that fear. The total surveillance program, the so-called COVID passport, mandatory vaccines, everything hinges on that fear. And once people comprehend that there is nothing to fear, the game is over.
Right. I would agree with that. The fear aspect, because it's so hard to speak to people who have consumed all of this fear. And I don't know how to tell them that these people are using nefarious tactics to make you question your own health. You know what I mean? It's sort of a mind game. And that was kind of one of the questions I had here. Is part of the age of Aquarius playing a more psychological war game instead of a war with bombs? It's more of like a mind virus type of situation.
Yeah. 1 second here. Your internet is going into the red. Or the
no.
Are you on Wi-Fi or are you hardwired?
No, I only have Wi-Fi, but if I disconnect the VPN that my company makes me use, it might help. Okay. So maybe I just did that.
Okay.
So hopefully
now it's white.
Help. Yeah, it's better.
Yeah. Now it's going back to yellow. Yeah, it happens sometimes.
Yeah, if I'm connected to their VPN, then sometimes I think it eats, even if I'm not using it. So I should have disconnected it before we started talking. I just sort of forgot that it was there.
Okay.
Right. So is it kind
interrupting your flow of thought?
No. I think it's just more, so what I like to call mind viruses, which I think there are many of, and you know, the coronavirus narrative is just one of these things. We have a lot of what I like to call mind viruses out there. People who get sort of hooked into these ideas or these philosophies, mainly dispersed on the internet. So there are also sort of like these internet cults as well. And so I wonder if the Age of Aquarius has more to do with like the mind, as far as they seem to be interested in playing with the mind more than actual bombs.
Yeah,
Or
it's an air sign.
mm-hmm.
And that has a lot to do with the mind, of course. But um, as I always say, nothing is written in stone.
Yeah.
Right now, yeah, it definitely looks as if the technocrats are taking over and that we lost the game and that it will be only a matter of months before the doors close and then everybody is in this dystopian surveillance grid and with mandatory vaccines and universal income and so on and so forth. But I will go over that bridge when I'm there. As of now, it is not, and I will not give up just yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think part of you having your YouTube is, part of disseminating what you think about all of this and sort of helping people. And I think with a rational voice, just say like, hey, look at this, look at the destruction it's done, look at the dehumanization and the atomization it's doing to people. So yeah, I don't know if people are willing to listen. I think, that's part of how we can fight this. Why do you think so many esoteric symbols appear in pop culture and corporate logos today? Is it just that they're historical memes, sort of like they just keep replicating themselves and they've lost their meaning at this point? Or do you think they're being used purposefully? An example I could use is the mermaid from Starbucks, which is a mythical creature of the name I'm forgetting right now. It starts with an M, I believe.
Yeah. It slipped my mind as well. But I think it's a mixture of both. I'm not saying that every designer who designs that is in the know.
Right. It would be impossible, right?
Yeah. But certainly the ones that want to have a specific logo, they know what they are doing. And it's, in a sense, a reflection of what they believe in. Yeah.
So, I mean, the mermaid, I guess, could sort of hint at like ancient bloodline type of situation, from my understanding of that lore, if you will. So I guess, yeah, I think they're sort of taking advantage of it, but they know that their time is, I mean, I've heard you say their time is running out. Is that why? I just feel in the past 5 years, things have drastically shifted. And I'm getting this sort of, I don't know if you've ever heard the term future shock, but I'm getting that sort of, future shock feeling. Do you think that's part of this shift into the Age of Aquarius?
Yeah. The future shock, yeah, the technocrats know where they want to drag us. The real question is, are we going to play along, roll over, play dead, and then they have it or not? And that is where I never let people really off the hook when it comes to their own responsibility, meaning, is it really necessary that we all participate in this enslavement? And one of these tools, of course, is our smartphone culture. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying here that everybody that uses a smartphone is a bad person and needs to be shunned by humanity.
But you
That's
can
not what
remember
I'm
a
saying,
time
but
when you didn't need them. You can remember a time that it was fine for you to leave your house.
Mhm.
And you can argue also that the smartphone doesn't allow you to develop certain things that we used to. Like, you could get in a car and be like, okay, I'm driving to my aunt's house. And you just
Mhm.
go there. You didn't need to put it into the phone and have it tell you when to turn and all these things. You knew how to get there. And I
I
think
never
it's
had a navigation system in my life,
mm,
in my car. Never, never, ever.
yeah,
I always knew that this is about control and not my convenience.
right.
Most most things that
For
are
safety.
yeah, most things that are offered to us under the label safety and convenience is about control. And unfortunately, a lot of people are willing to sacrifice almost anything in the temple of convenience.
They love it.
Mhm.
That's why, Amazon is so successful. That's why Jeff Bezos, yeah, like and I often think sort of a thought that goes through my head is that if this does continue the way it does, convenience will be the death of this culture.
Mhm.
I often think that. I just see all these people who are they feel less self-reliant. And I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, but yeah, I just see this whole generation, and they're so angry too, um, at things that I believe are manufactured issues. Where it's like you're directing. I get that you're angry. You're not in the most fun situation, but you're directing your anger towards a source that is not. They place it in the individual, like it's somehow our fault that this thing has been constructed around us. So I don't know. It's wild here in the United States. And are the protests that are happening in Germany, are they violent at all, or
No, no,
no?
no. We have no riots in the sense that you are seeing in the United States, where all the small businesses are getting trashed and the windows smashed and what have you, regardless if that individual is maybe a black person that has all their life savings
Yeah.
in that little business. They don't care about that. And as Masaki pointed out in our interview, and I think he's really correct about this entire thing, Black Lives Matter, what they are really talking about is Saturnian Lives Matter.
Right. So speaking of Saturn deals with Aquarius. What is the connection for people who might not know what the
It's
connection?
the ruler. It's the ruler of the age.
Mhm.
And on the one hand, every planet has an up and a down. So Saturn is definitely somebody who puts you on your butt, and you have to work, you have to do your commitment, you
Mhm.
have to struggle, you have to be there, you have to have a certain type of discipline,
Hmm.
which is not which is not a bad thing. That means you have to sacrifice things to do that and accomplish that what you really want to do. But at the far end of that of course ends up with human sacrifice
Okay.
or
So
other blood sacrifices. Yeah.
mhm.
So you always have to have a balance between all these energies.
Right.
Yeah, where a certain structure in your life is needed, it's okay, and that is where Saturn comes in and is useful, and yeah, is like the schoolmaster and tells you, you know what, I will sit you on your butt now, and you have to improve yourself, you have to do better than that. That might be inconvenient and not very funny, but it is sometimes needed. Yet when I look at the other extreme of that, that is something where I do not want to go. Blood sacrifices, and to me it doesn't really matter if it's animal or human. And yes, I know some people, human life is so much. Yeah, okay. But whenever somebody either demands or you arrive at the idea you have to have a blood sacrifice, then there is something very fucked up and wrong with that. Either with that deity, and I don't care, yeah, any deity that demands blood sacrifices is a psychopath.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Because if you are the creator of everything and anything we can think of, you do not need blood sacrifice.
Exactly. So this sort of reminds me of you talked about this in one of your videos, this sort of Mary cult, where I think, and maybe you don't know about this, but I guess at some point they were using the skulls, these sort of, to drink, was it menstrual blood?
Mm-hmm.
And this is, you know, an esoteric sort of Christian practice from, I guess, the medieval era. I could be wrong. Sometimes my memory is not great. But there were so what I'm getting at here is, this was a question I had for you, and we sort of interacted on this idea, this sort of idea of the mother goddess and all of these male secret societies using divine female energy. And so what do you make of all these male secret societies feeding off of female energy?
There is this idea of, yeah, the unholy female energy.
Right.
And that unholy female energy is actually ruling those secret societies.
Okay.
So I don't see it really as siphoning off of female energy. Because when you look at the symbolism, you will always find the knight in service to to a woman, a female character. Yeah. So, sorry, I have something in my throat. So this dark female energy, I see that as one of the main parts of the secret societies. They make you think it's all about men, but it's not. It's in the background, ruled and governed by, toxic, dark female energies. That is what and when, as Masaki said, I will quote Judith Foba now. My stance on all the gods and goddesses, the little g gods, always has been and is to up to today. Fuck them all. What have they ever done?
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing is that humanity, as like sort of a whole, would need, first of all, we would need to come together. We would need a massive shift in consciousness to realize the games that are sort of being played with us, and unite in sort of fight these forces of dark male or female energy, whatever it would be. The dark energy we would want to unite and sort of.
Let me give you one example. Many people are head over heels with Gaia Sophia. I have a totally different view on that. Sophia is an anagram for AI Phos. Phos is the Greek word for light, and AI, is AI, artificial intelligence. So Sophia, to me, is part of the false light matrix. Yeah? Lower astral at best. So,
I mean, my personal belief is that they're just humans, and humankind is responsible for all of the evil, and not specifically men or women. It does seem like men have a larger part to play in a lot of wars, but I think a lot of sort of esotericism, it's interesting to me, but I think a lot of people, when they think about these things, they sort of put aside that like humans can actually be that terrible. You know what I mean? So, shifting your consciousness.
Yes, we can. And, but that is also where mind viruses come in.
Right.
And when Masaki shared these slides about China, and when I said, I know, if these groups, the energy, it has an energy of its own, and it takes over the mind of the individual. It can be it can be a good thing, but usually it is used for nefarious purposes. That all of a sudden hundreds and thousands of people think it is perfectly okay to, what do I know, to decapitate an individual because he or she has a different point of view.
Yeah, we are getting there to this sort of cancel culture and all of that type of thing. And I think speaking to people who have different points of view is really important. And I've always thought that. So I always seek out people that I just feel like we could have an interesting conversation, even if we disagree. So, and that's part of it. It's part of the consciousness, and it's also part of the game of the divide and conquer. And that's what I see Black Lives Matter being. I think these people, wittingly or unwittingly, are foot soldiers for the New World Order to condense that thought. And you do see a lot of money. So people who've donated, they click the button on the website, which goes to Act Blue, which funnels that into the DNC. And we're just seeing, basic, I think, manipulation of people's emotions to divide them. And again, the fear, but they're just pumping that fear of the other in so hard now.
The entire construct
and the masks are a very interesting, I think, experiment that they're running. Like who's gonna continue, who's not gonna continue, who's never gonna do it in the first place. It's just, and I see it that way. Like this is one of the most massive mind manipulations possibly. I mean, they do it every few decades. It feels like they have to throw another thing in there, like 9/11, coronavirus, and what happens as a result of these things is obviously policy shifts that, as we were saying, give away more of your autonomy, give away, for the safety or the convenience. So that's what these result in. no matter who's perpetrating these crimes against humanity, you know, it just seems like they want to tighten in the control. And is it Masaki? Is his name?
Masaki. Mm.
Yeah, Masaki. He was saying part of Aquarius is about the control aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I find, but as you and he say, you know, there's always a balance between these two things.
Yeah.
So you having this channel and talking to people about it, you know, I think it's really interesting and a good way to raise consciousness, which is, I think, one of the only weapons we have.
I would say it's the best weapon. At the end of the day, I see consciousness as the real game changer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so does DARPA. That's why, that's some of the things they've been looking into with ESP and such, which is a totally different conversation. So here's again, I did want to bring up Germany again, and the tightening. They're trying to tighten things down.
Yeah.
But the German people are peacefully, it seems, gathering. And it's very interesting what they do in the United States is this sort of left-right thing. I don't know what the politics are in Germany. Are they similar? Do they try to paint everyone who's going to these things as some like...
Yes, of course. We are neo-Nazis. We are corona deniers. Yeah, very carefully pick that word so that we have an association
I saw that recently.
with a Holocaust denier. And yeah, we are all right-wingers, lunatics. Yeah. But here in Germany, we have also something that, yeah, you would call a secret service. And that, the name of it is Bundesverfassungsschutz, BND.
Mm-hmm.
BND is Bundesnachrichtendienst, and part of that is Bundesverfassungsschutz. So they released a report that this narrative is not true, that there were only a couple of right-wingers, if at all, and that they were not the majority of the people. But that is
I saw footage. There were some like rainbow flags.
Yeah.
You know, there was all. It seemed like all sorts of kinds of people were there.
Yeah, Muslims and you know, but that is the narrative that is convenient for the press and for the politicians, so that they use it. Mm-hmm. And now what has happened? The demonstration for next Saturday has been prohibited, but the people are going anyway. And many said, you know what? And now I am going to Berlin.
Right.
So in a way, everything is accelerating now. Why do I say that? Police, military will have to make a stand. They will have to decide what side am I on? Am I going to block the streets to Berlin with tanks? Do I participate in that to enforce tyranny, yes or no?
It will be very interesting to see how it plays out in Germany. I mean, here they already, but again, I will say that at least they're being peaceful and they don't have this narrative that they do in the United States where we're at this 2 + 2 is 4 situation. Not 4, I'm sorry, 5. But you know what I mean? You did see the math news, but so we're at this situation where protesting is rioting. It's the same thing. People destroying other people's businesses, people hurting each other, people setting things on fire. That they're just protesting. So the United States, the left, the sort of this weird situation has totally brainwashed these kids into thinking that like these actions are gonna, I mean, what they did was they called in the National Guard. So we had the National Guard right outside my house, like 2 blocks from here. And I also don't support what they're protesting. I don't know what, you know, the statistics do not point to that level of violence. I'm sorry. You're more in danger in your own community from the own people that you live around. It doesn't matter what color you are, okay? And you're more in danger of poor health decisions, you know, in that community, or poor health just being born, you know, with some poor health. So these narratives, they don't help anyone. And again, it's all funneling money to the Democratic National Committee. And I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. You know, I've never been either of those things. I think it's a farce anyway. Sense. Yeah. So I don't know. It's a very strange situation we have here in the United States, where I don't know what these kids, you know, think that they're going to accomplish. Perhaps they should watch the film RoboCop. I don't know, like just decreasing property values, and the technocrats, you know, they bring in the robot cops.
Oh, yeah, of course, defunding the police. And again, I'm not a fan of the police.
Yeah, who's a fan? I mean,
and
obviously,
of military or police.
Right.
The thing is, are we really, as a society in the aggregate, are we at a point where we can say no more police? The thing is, there are people out there that will say, oh, you abolished the police, that's great. Because my next robbery will be there, and there. Yeah, okay.
Well, again, they have a disconnect. They have this strange utopia that they have in their mind, this imaginary utopia. And I mean, if you've read any novel about dystopia or even utopias, like Brave New World is a great example of how that can go. Like, and they're doing the same things, like destroying statues, destroying things like that. They tore down, I think it was a Civil War guy who was actually a black guy, one of the first regiments or something like this. They just don't have any understanding of history either, I don't think. So it will be very interesting to see how it plays out in Germany, because I still think people have a memory, not you know, it wasn't that far ago, it wasn't that long ago, you know, so maybe.
Yeah, some people that used to live in East Germany, yeah, under the communist regime, they say what's going on here right now, that is worse than what we experienced. So much for that democratic leadership. And yeah, but I think because of those memories, people, that there are millions of people that are not willing to roll over and go along with it. Because
yeah, I mean,
they can see
people here in the United States
heading towards.
I'm sorry?
Because they can see what that is heading towards.
Right. And it's actually interesting because a lot of immigrants here also, you know, are kind of calling this out, because it's a very sort of, for lack of a better term, like white bourgeois, you know, when we were out here seeing them going over there, it was really interesting, like, because they had locked everybody in their houses. So it was almost like a party you could go to, you know, you bring your little flag, and it was just, I don't know. It's like the Coca-Cola protest, or what is it, when Jenner like gives them a Pepsi or something. It's the same kind of thing. So I don't know. It's I will be interested to see what happens in Germany. And I think I covered all of the questions that I had about, Aquarius. And do you have any thoughts on transhumanism while we're here?
Yeah, that's all part of the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And the technocrat thinks that humans are just a mind-body machine.
Mm-hmm.
That's all there is. And this limited point of view then leads to dehumanizing others. It's just another machine.
Right.
And last night I had an interview with Jerry Maczynski, because he has written this book with Sherry Sweeney, and we talked about that.
An amazing journey into the psychotic mind.
Yeah.
Ooh. Wow.
And we have the same problem in medicine as well, because it started all with Hippocrates saying that any and all diseases come from outside sources, germs, viruses, whatever. The entire germ theory is this, this war model. Yeah, this. If we keep all the germs out, and then everybody will be healthy. So
Right.
What did that lead to? This idea that everything comes from outside, and that the human, because that idea is old. I will read a couple of sentences here from somebody. His name is Bloiler. Most of our worst restraining measures would be unnecessary if we were not duty-bound to preserve the patient's lives, which for them, as well as for others, are only of negative value. Even if a few more killed themselves, does this reason justify the fact that we torture hundreds of patients and aggravate their disease? At the present time, we psychiatrists are burdened with the tragic responsibility of obeying the cruel views of society. So, in other words, he complains about the fact that they have to keep schizophrenics alive. And what they did because of this idea, everything comes from outside and you are just a machine, and if we keep all the germs away, they opened the skulls and put alcohol in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the leaching sort of.
Yeah. And this make them numb. Yeah. And another wonderful treatment.
Is this a person hanging from something?
Yeah. And they hang them. Yeah, they are standing, but of course this is very stressful in the long run.
Yeah.
And then they completely break down, and that was their treatment to calm them down. So we have the same idiotic ideas. They never really went away. Yeah,
right.
We have them in medicine, and I mean,
some of them have come back into style too. You have this sort of evolutionary psychology situation, which is sort of like a modern day phrenology. So yeah, the medical, the history of medicine is just wrought with this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and yeah, we have the same players even. Yeah, the ones that decided that medicine from now on will be like this. Everything has an outside because you have no power over your health. We, the experts, are telling you what to swallow. And if you say otherwise, you can lose your license as a doctor. And then you do that for a couple of generations and nobody will remember.
Right.
That there have been other possibilities. And we have the same players, because one of those institutions who enforced that was Johns Hopkins Institute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And the Rockefeller situation.
Standard Oil, and yeah, exactly. So what we are seeing here is a replay. Yeah. And then merging the human with the machine is just the next step, the next level of madness.
Right.
And what I have a suspicion that deep underneath it all is their fear of death.
Yes, I think there's a completely unhealthy relationship with death in this culture. Is belief in technology the new religion?
Oh yeah, it will be part of it. Yeah.
Right. Instead of men in robes, they have lab coats.
Yeah. If this prediction is correct, that the Anunnaki are coming back in 2022.
I know nothing about the Anunnaki lore. I haven't gotten there in my
yeah. Then according to those ideas, there will be only two religions left. One is Islam, and the one is this alien technocratic religion.
Weird. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. So I, personally, I unless I can, I like to talk about these things, but I can't prove any of those things. So I leave it to the people who really believe them to tell me about them, and that's fine.
I don't really care if people believe that or not. I just put it out there, and you put it into your puzzle as you wish. And if you decide, no, that one I leave on the shelf, that's okay with me. Yeah. To me, it's pretty clear that we had encounters with the Anunnaki, with Anu, Enki, Enlil. And as I said in my interview with Masaki, there are no good guys in that story. That's total nonsense. And again,
yeah, they all seem pretty terrible. And with the lore of like fairy creatures and things like this, the overlap of these sightings with UFO sightings. So humans have always encountered possibly beings from another realm.
Yeah.
It depended on, I suppose, the zeitgeist at the time to tell them what those things were. So that's totally a possibility in my mind. I just haven't encountered such a thing myself. So, and that's what makes the world so interesting. All of the mysteries that we don't have answers for, that scientists and doctors pretend that they have answers for. So I think I don't. Yeah, unless you have any questions for me, I'm feeling pretty good about that conversation.
What made you decide to start your YouTube channel?
Wow. So I had a channel before, which I still use for more feminist kind of stuff. And the reason I became interested in that situation was because of transgenderism and this idea that we can somehow change our sex. And I, when that conversation, I sort of got roped into 5 years ago, I suppose. And I just didn't agree. And I think, you can express yourself however you want. It just doesn't change your sex. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. And it's kind of Orwellian to believe that, you know, men are women and vice versa. And so what started happening was research into this terminology called gender identity. And the more I found out, and the more I found out about the small group of people that sort of molded that narrative, and, you know, the sort of corruption that goes on there, I started thinking, wow, what other things? And I kind of had put that to bed, and then COVID happened. And I'm like, oh, wow. You know, I had sort of more of an awakening. I always knew things were kind of corrupt, but I was like, well, what can I do anyway, you know? But yeah, the more you find out and the more you understand how these people control narratives to make people believe what they want, you know, the more you want to know what they're doing, why they're doing it, who they are. So that's what happened. That was my personal journey into this. And I've always been interested in spiritual information, whether it be from Christianity or other sources. So, and history, I don't know, just a weird nerd, I guess.
Yeah, and that is, I can understand that, and that is why I love having interviews with Masaki, where we really nerd out.
Yeah, you guys are really great together. I was just finishing another video you guys had made from, I think it was April, you made it. And it's the things that you guys talk about, the combination of the knowledge bases is fascinating, because he's talking about Japanese history and all of this sort of thing. I spent some time in Japan, so maybe I have a bit of an affinity for Masaki. And I do think that cube of Saturn is very interesting out there in little Tokyo, with all the multicultural faces on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are all one on the cube, and we turn into McDonald's.
Right. The homogenization. Just.
And are you enjoying your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I mean, that project has really taken off. I mean, I think part of my reaction to this madness, as well as just to do creative stuff, I am an Aquarius, so but which is why I find that topic so fascinating. But yeah, it's really a lot of fun for me to talk to all sorts of different people and see what they think. And I think most of us are just trying to wade our way through the situation that we're in, no matter what perspective we have. But yeah, it is upsetting, the sort of disappearance of different cultural things. That's part of the agenda.
Yeah, I think talking to all kinds of people with all kinds of backgrounds, that's a really good way to learn. And
yeah,
you know, I do not always 100% agree with everything my guests say, but that is okay.
Yeah,
we should not stop talking to each other, and it's not a reason to butcher them verbally,
right.
You know. For instance, I do not subscribe to any type of religion, but of course I will talk to Gary Wayne, I talk to Johnny Cerrucci, and yeah, I do things like that. So that and especially the situation that we are in now, it's time to overcome all those differences and find common ground.
Yeah, and I see that, you know, these movements, the divide and conquer mentality is still there. It's still, you know, very much what they want. And if you have every corporation making t-shirts with BLM, you have to wonder what your cause is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the corporations will save us. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. The ones
That's
that
such a good
fucked it
job.
up in the first place, they are here to help. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. You're just here to help us.
Yeah. Sure.
We're useless eaters, so we're too stupid to, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
do things on or make, decisions.
Okay. Yeah. So enjoy that process. It's hard work to grow a channel. I know that. Unless you are on the CIA payroll, then it grows a
Yeah,
lot
don't get me
faster.
started on the strange channels that appeared concerning that specific debate that I just mentioned.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I
but
don't know. I think I have a nice group of people who enjoy what I'm doing, and that's fine with me.
yeah,
So.
and just enjoy that. Be persistent, and if YouTube kicks us out of their sphere, that's okay with me. There are other possibilities, and if YouTube wants to make itself obsolete, they can go ahead with that.
True.
Yeah, that is how I see it. Yeah. Because it definitely started out differently.
Mm-hmm. The Silicon Valley, yeah, definitely. And then you have characters like, Bill Gates showing up, and I love that pie in the face during the antitrust hearings. So yeah, I think the initial idea of Silicon Valley and the men behind that, and they were, a lot of them were experimenting with hallucinogens. They were like sort of, I don't, sort of hippies in a way, whatever that term means, but like, hey man, information should be free, like. And they were all sort of, yeah. And then you have these figures like Jobs or Gates who come in and they just capitalize on everybody else's work. None of the things that those dudes did were original. So
Yeah.
and I don't know how to stop that cycle from repeating itself, but and a lot of people made a lot of money. So
The other day I read that during this Corona crisis, Bill Gates made $7.5 billion.
he's got one heck of a PR team behind him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like to change this image, yeah, of like a sort of a greedy corporate dude to like, I'm gonna save you with my vaccine. And that's the danger of you guys were talking about QAnon. That's the danger of that situation, because it makes anyone questioning this stuff, now we're lumped into that group, like I had a friend tell me, I don't use Facebook, but I had a friend who told me that a friend of his was saying some stuff about transgenderism actually, and somehow that got linked, his other friend was talking smack, and that got linked to QAnon, like she believes in QAnon because she doesn't. It was very strange. So now, anyone with a dissenting opinion, and that's the whole term of conspiracy.
Yeah, and it makes people docile, the Q narrative, because
They think Trump is.
yeah, exactly. Because while technocracy is creeping in, the people are sitting back watching the show with their popcorn, thinking that the white knights will save them at the 11th hour.
Yeah. Trump, that's totally, Trump wasn't hanging out with Epstein all the time.
No, never happened.
In New York. It's such a small world. I guess I don't know. It's it's just madness to think that Trump is not part of that cabal in some way.
He wouldn't be there where he is.
No. Oh wait, while I have you, really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about the Jesuits briefly, and that's sort of back to sort of like the M symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't Trump? Didn't he go to a Jesuit school and then build?
Yes, he's Jesuit trained.
And so what do they? If you know, like, what's like a brief sort of thing that they would, what do they train them to do? Like, what is a core idea there?
Johnny Sorochi described it a little bit like not everybody that is going to a Jesuit university will be picked, yeah, but for some the training it resembles a training of a Marine, meaning core
Lots
parts
of discipline, talking about Saturn there. Lots of discipline.
Core parts of your personality get destroyed and then rebuilt in the image of their ideas.
Right.
So, yeah, and that M sign. These is the Morano hand, Morano hand, and these are the crypto Jews. They are actually Jews that say that they are Catholics now.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a whole.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks, Judith. That was really fun.
Yeah.
So, send that to me whenever you can. Yeah. And I'll just take the audio from it. Generally,
okay.
I do.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. Thank you for reaching out to me. I had wanted to talk to you. You just seems like such an interesting person.
Thank you. I never thought that I would do something like this.
Yeah, why did you start a YouTube channel? You don't have to tell me. It could be a secret.
No. It's okay. So for many years, while I was still with the airlines, I listened to a lot of the people that I'm interviewing these days. And for years and years and years, I listened and listened and listened.
Huh.
When I was on layovers, I always listened and learned many years. So then in 2017, my company that I've been working for, they went bankrupt. And then I decided how I will play this strategically. And so I thought, now that you have all this time, actually you have questions as well. Maybe you contact some of those people and let's see if they are willing to talk to you. And yeah, I mean, not all the time. I send out many emails where I never get any response.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But that's okay. Or
yeah, the worst that can happen is nothing. So
yeah.
With the email.
And yeah. So then I started my little project. I just, I didn't think about it. How will I do this, and what will I reach in 6 months or 1 year?
Yeah.
I never had thought like that, and just did it. Just started and never stopped, and that is that story. And so now I'm 63. So they will probably not bring me back into the workforce.
Oh, really? Is it pretty discriminatory? Like the older you get, is it harder to? It
Yeah,
doesn't
and there is another thing. I had brain surgery in
happen.
December, and I have a gift, a leftover from that, and
Mm,
meaning I have the impression that I'm sliding out of my body, and when I'm walking,
mm,
I have the feeling that the ground is not solid,
mhm,
and I'm dizzy all the time.
mm.
So I don't really see where they want to
Right.
put me.
Hmm. Well, thank you for doing your channel.
And especially now with this Corona situation where people are losing their jobs left, right, and center. Yeah, they
Yeah.
nobody is waiting for me. Yeah, I
Right.
mean,
I
let's
mean,
be realistic.
I'm very, I'm pretty lucky to still be employed, and it's such a minimal. It's like Kafka. It's like the most absurd
Mm.
situation. I'm just
Mm.
like, how are you still employing me? Like, I come in and throw away mail sometimes, and that's like, and I stuff some envelopes, and that's about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't really have a huge responsibility at that place. So I'm just, it's nice that that happened last year. And if you'd told me last year any of this would be happening, I would have just laughed at you. I would have just, I mean, I already saw, like, I didn't know what would happen, to be honest. Things felt weird and like they had been accelerating, but I didn't know if they were going to do a virus situation, because there's, a few situations that they can pull. And
Yeah, but that is the perfect cover.
yeah, for sure.
Mm.
And people you have people like Neil deGrasse Tyson come on, and it's like, this is a big test to see if people will do what scientists say, and you're like, oh man, like, you're such a corporate shill, stop it, dude. Like, everyone, like, I just wish there had been one famous person. Of course they can't, because it's very likely that they've been initiated into some sort of cult. I don't know what it is, but you have figures like the Marina Abramovic
Mhm.
person.
Yeah, the
They're doing
spirit
some weird
cookie.
stuff. I don't know what it is. Maybe
Standing with Lord Rothschild in front of this painting, Satan is summoning his troops.
what are you guys doing? Cut it out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's just a coincidence. Nothing to see here. Move on.
yeah, the one Podesta doesn't have that cannibalistic painting in his office for,
Mhm.
it's just for fun. And that, like,
Yeah.
sculpture of
Yeah,
looks
you
like,
do, you just don't have this acquired taste for art.
and we just like the same thematic elements. That's another reason I do this channel, is because I just don't, it's so obvious, it's so blatant,
Mm.
and it's been happening for, a while, and you're just like, wait, no one else has caught on that they're using the same symbols and imagery over and over again,
Mm.
all of these performances.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well,
Okay.
thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed that. And if you ever want to talk to me again, I'm around.
Yeah, sure. I
Um,
know where to find you.
it's it's not hard. I
Yeah.
don't make it hard. I mean, they already know with the phone, so Judith knows where I am.
Okay. So this was it, guys. Our little talk with Natalie Donna. And we see you all next time. Until then, stay safe from tyranny and stay sound out there. Bye bye.
Should I hang up then?
No, I stopped the recording.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it says it, but